All right, welcome to another episode of Off the Grid Investing. We're here at the Grid in Uptown Phoenix. It's a co-work space, and this is where Neighborhood Ventures is headquartered. And we also have a bunch of other companies here at various stages of maturity, startup, and we're excited to have one of our fellow Grid companies with us, Brett Isacken with Viking. And we've known Brett for year or two since we've been working together. I'm going to give a little intro and then we'll have you introduce yourself a bit more too. But we're excited to have him here. We're also excited to have Grayson Lupus. Grace, you want to give a little intro about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Grayson Lupus. I am a 19-year-old entrepreneur. I'm working for Jamison here, a digital marketing analyst. Finishing college in my last 2 years of college at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix. I'm from Washington. I was originally a realtor there, but now I'm digital marketing here. So yeah.
See the optimism. I'm almost done with college. He still has 2 years left. So it's like
almost. We're getting there. We're
almost.
getting there.
That's the right attitude. Doesn't sound like you're counting down the days at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right. So yeah, Brett, want to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure. So I own Viking Building Services. It's a hybrid of a janitorial company, which I don't know if janitors have ever been on a podcast before. But I do custodial staffing as well as full service janitorial work. And the way that started, there's kind of an interesting backstory. Is I used to be a school administrator at a school downtown, and I did that for 7 years. And then my wife got pregnant, and she was going to have twins. And anyone that's been in education before obviously knows in administration, it's like nonstop. Every night there's something. Every morning there's something. In the morning, you're dealing with like parents fist fighting over pickup and drop off. And then at night, you're dealing with fist fighting with parents again, like at the football game. And you're just kind of managing all these personalities when you're in.
What school district is this? Because I want to avoid that. Or is
it wasn't a district. It was a charter school.
Oh, okay.
My dad's actually an administrator at the school, and he does the same thing.
And
just putting out fires constantly.
Oh, yeah. And when you're, I mean, I have a pregnant wife that's about to have twins, and these are my first 2 kids. We ended up having 3. But at the time, I was like, I have to figure something out because this job takes literally all of my time, and it sort of like devours my soul a little bit. By the end of the day, it was like, by the end of the day, you just have like nothing left to give. And I had no business experience or anything, but one of the things I dealt with at the school was always janitorial issues. And I'm bilingual. I learned how to speak Spanish working in a prison in Bolivia, which is like a totally different story.
We're going to have to get into that.
Wow.
But when I dealt with all the custodians, they would always look at me and be shocked that I knew how to speak Spanish. And I figured like they would come in and their boss wouldn't be nice to them from another company, and they'd come talk to me, and I'd be like, don't worry, it's okay. Can you just do this, this, and this? And then late night at basketball games, I'd be mediating confrontations between 2 different custodial workers and just being like, I don't know why I'm doing this, and the company we contract out with isn't doing it. And to make a long story short, getting out of education, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start a cleaning company. And everyone told me I was insane. Everyone would be like, why are you going to start a cleaning company? You're never going to make it. The only person that really had faith in me was probably my wife. And she was like, yes.
That's the most important person.
Yeah. She was like, you need to get out of what you're doing. And she's like, I know you can do it. And actually my in-laws too, they had a lot of faith in that too. They're like, but I think everyone had their reservations about what I was doing at the time, including myself. But I was just like, you have to do something. And so I did it, and I was able to land one school in South Phoenix, because that's what I knew at the time was schools.
Yeah, I mean,
so I could go around and talk to people about like school cleaning.
You've been there, you know what their concerns are.
And it has nothing to do with cleaning. It's like literally knowing the language of education.
So were you just like reaching out to schools at this point, and you finally found a contract with one?
Mm-hmm. And I had known different principals, and they knew. I mean, a couple of them knew what I was doing, and then one lady gave me a shot, and I got one school. I took I took one employee from a different company, and Maria, and and Maria was a bus rider at the time, but she's all I had, and I would be driving Maria around at night because she had to be there because I'm a horrible cleaner. That's another thing.
Yourself.
Yeah. My wife would be like, you have a cleaning company, but you're a horrible cleaner. And
ironic.
even if I work with employees, they tell me, they're like, no, just step out of the way. Like, we have this. And then it just like snowballed from there. I got that account, and then I was also hit with like a certain insurance I needed to have. And I was like, holy cow, what? And that was like an extra $6,000. And I think
Per year?
Yeah, per year.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, that's a lot of money. I have no clients, and I'm going to spend an extra $6,000
on insurance of all things.
It was like abuse and molestation insurance, and I was like,
wow.
And so from there, I learned, just kind of what goes into it and how to dealing with people more and more. And I think one day out of the blue, I got a call from an actual school district. And they were having trouble staffing their custodial department. And he's like, hey, I have a school here that we can't staff. Do you have people? Could you come give me a bid and staff it? And I ended up, and that was another school actually downtown Phoenix, and I ended up getting winning that bid, because at the beginning you price everything so low that I probably wasn't making any money. I was like, I really need the business.
You're trying to build a business,
Yeah, and I ended up getting that, and I got Antonio and Helica. They were my second and third employee, and they did it. And then from the minute I got that staffing thing, I got other districts started calling me because they were all having the same problem.
Wow.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And you just kept growing a little bit and growing a little bit.
You found a need in the market.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when COVID hit, the city of Tempe called me, and that was like a big. They were like, "Hey, we need 15 people," and I was like, "Holy cow! I don't know if I can find 15 people."
Right.
But you figure it out, and as you get more employees, you actually get more contacts, and you find more people, and
this all started 5 years ago.
Yeah, about 5. Yeah,
about 2016.
The first
17.
Yeah, 2017. So I started it like while I was exiting being a school administrator.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you did it all the right way. You first saw that there was a need for something, and then you went and fulfilled the need instead of I'm passionate about being cleaning company. Maybe most people probably aren't, but you saw the need. And then you fulfilled the need by starting the business, so instead of the other way around, which some people start a business.
You might create an idea and you hope people adopt it.
Yeah.
And those a lot of times fall flat on their face, even if they're a great idea.
Yeah, mine just found its way to me because I literally thought I was just going to be cleaning buildings, and I would go target charter schools and get those contracts because that's what I knew. I was like, I'll do charter schools, and then once I get some of those, I'll start talking to property managers, and I'll do buildings, and now it's just taken a turn to where my niche is schools and cities.
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on, there's one of my favorite books is called Millionaire Next Door, and it goes through, it's 2 college professors, and they go through all the different businesses who are owned by millionaires. And one of the real common ones was dry cleaners and commercial cleaners.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And 2 of the reasons that they pointed out, that were similar about both of those businesses, is that they're scalable. The fact that you aren't a good cleaner actually doesn't matter because you're running the business, and you can bring in the resources to meet the demand, and you can keep running the business, and you can even step away from the business, and it still can run itself. And that's really unique as you go from kind of a small business to an asset that's a business, because the ability to step out. And that was one thing that the book points out is commercial cleaners is one of those unique businesses you don't think about, but they can generate really good profits for the owners, and it's a real asset because you can step away from it and it can keep going. So that's part of the reason we wanted to have you on. You're saying maybe this is the first time a cleaning company's been on a business podcast.
We always say I always say I'm a janitor.
Right.
So
well, hey, that's I think that's a good way to look at it. But it's you kind of fly under the radar a little bit probably when it comes to good businesses, and it might the good part about it is it keeps the competition down. You've been able to find a niche and do a good job, and you've grown a business. Yeah.
I'm curious how the pricing structure works. I'm not curious how much you get paid, but I am curious how does like the contractor arbitrage kind of work? Like, does the bid come in at X amount, and then you can pay the janitor, whoever, to clean X amount, so there's kind of an arbitrage there? Like, how does that work?
So a lot of the stuff I do is through a cooperative where my pricing is already posted, and so I price like per hour for like a custodian usually, and then that goes out the window when you start talking about like buying equipment and are you gonna need floor machines, are we doing all of it? But a lot of times people or places just need people in labor. So with that, it's just an hourly rate. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I wish I could say I really know like the price per square foot to clean, but I'm generally, if I ever do go on those, I'm like right in the ballpark, because it's like, don't get like real greedy. Figure out what's like fair, what you can pay your employees, and plan for certain emergencies to come up, and plan for other things they're going to want, like windows and floors, which I sort of do a la carte as opposed to the day-to-day cleaning. I'm usually right in the ballpark. If not, I'm most of the time I'm less than those bigger companies because they have so much more overhead. Yeah. I have one supervisor, and I do all the managing myself.
And so you mentioned insurance. What are the other kind of hidden costs that you might not think of with this business? Because it's kind of obvious the biggest part is labor, and then probably materials, cleaning materials, and things like that. I run some Airbnbs, and so I know that stuff costs money all the time. What are there other hidden costs to the business that you wouldn't necessarily think of?
They're not hidden, but if you do things well, it's a great cost to have to benefit your employees. Yeah. Like I give a lot of gift cards away. I'm in a position to like help them when things come up. Like I've paid for surgeries for like employees' kids.
I'm sure that goes a long way too.
Yeah, I have like an extra truck. I lend the truck out when theirs like breaks down. So those aren't like hidden expenses, but it's awesome to be able to do that. Yeah. Like when Christmas rolls around and you can give everyone gifts and extra cash and take care of people. It is a cost. But it's like a wonderful cost to have. I haven't run into like any, cross the fingers, like a lot of those issues of workman's comp or anything like that. Because that's the thing. I think when you own a business, everyone's scared you're going to get sued and this, and I don't know how people manage that, but I know every single one of my employees. I like know where they live. I know who they're married to. I know where their kids go to school. Just from trying to have control, and that's a lot. I have a lot of people now.
And, how many folks do you have?
Like last was like 82.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which isn't. I mean, compared to like a big company, that's not much. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of people to know. It's a lot of people to feel like you have to take care of, and you want the best for them too. It's trust me, going to a middle school bathroom is not a desirable task to want to complete.
How do you help them stay, motivated? It's probably not the best word, but how do you help them feel like fulfilled in their work? Because I think all of us need that to some level.
So that's a thing you learn, even like being a principal of a school and being a boss of someone, I always just think they need to know that you have their back. Things pop up all the time. If you go into any building and someone misplaces something, the first person they blame is the janitor.
Right.
And
must have been
those janitors doing it. And I deal with that all the time. And every single time it happens, like if it's a Christmas decoration or if it's headphones, it always ends to find its way back there and have nothing to do with the janitor. But that's the thing. I have my first employee, Maria. She still works for me. And she leaves sometimes and she'll go work at restaurants, but she's always like, hey, you have any extra thing for me to do at night? She needs like that variety. And I don't know if you would say that I go around and motivate anybody to like do their job, but I think if people just feel like appreciated, feel valued, if you have their side, janitorial, you're in the business. I'm in the business of complaints. No one ever says like, wow, my janitor is freaking incredible.
Although your team cleans this building.
Yeah,
and
everyone. I mean,
before that, they had some individual person that wasn't great, really well managed, and it's gone up several notches since you brought your team in, and so I've said the person who's cleaning, thank you, that it's a lot better than it used to be. So
it means you guys aren't busy enough. You have a lot of time.
That's probably true.
We love our cleaner here.
But yeah, in general, it's kind of like there's probably not a lot of kudos and attaboys that you come your way.
No, it's generally, especially if they work at night. Like you get to see, like the janitors during the day, people see how hard they work, and they get to know them, and they know what's going on in their life. Like if they're taking English classes or not, or if they ride the bus here.
Yeah.
People know that, and you want to support people that are working, like trying to come to work, and they have to take like 3 buses for a $14 an hour job.
It's got to be fulfilling to work with folks who are working so hard. I mean, these folks are earning every dollar that they earn per hour that you're working with. When you think of some of the folks in our economy and in our world that are entitled, and you're making these huge paychecks, you're like, why are they doing that? This is the other side of it. It's like they're working so hard and they're appreciative.
I have like husband and I just was out dropping W-2s off today, and I have like husbands and a wife that works for me, and they have like 4 kids. And I'm like, holy cow, how do you guys do it? I have 3, and I struggle immensely.
Right.
And I don't know how they do it. But they do, and they're always happy.
Yeah.
So you have over 80 employees now. Where do you see the business going from here? Like, do you want to grow it? Do you want to stay where it's at? Do you want to hire more people to remove yourself? Or where do you see the business going from here?
That is a good question. There's a part of me that doesn't want to grow. There's a part of me that says like, oh, let's go to Tucson and do this too, and then let's go over to Dallas and just get in on these school contracts and just try to get custodians and place people. And if they end up wanting to work for the school, that's fine too, because it's always kind of a revolving door in these situations. But I just like where I'm at. I don't know. It's really weird probably to speak to a business person that says I don't have any goals to.
Actually, I think it's the best place to be. Because we're always, business people tend to always never be happy and content with what they have. So, it's always like, what do we do next? What do we do next?
Always want more.
So it sounds like you found a little bit of.
Well, what is it like? I mean, are most people? I'm always like, well, this could end tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe we could start something else. Like,
right.
I always think about buying one of those big pressure washers that goes on the back of a truck, and figuring out a way to just go clean. I see the other company do it at Phoenix. Just clean the bus stops. I'm like, that'd be a great job. You need like 4 people and find out a way to get that contract.
Yeah. So there's you could either keep doing kind of your niche of schools and go broad and try to go to other markets, or you could go more deep in the Phoenix market with additional services, cleaning services, laundry services, what have you. If you wanted to grow the business, sounds like right now you're pretty happy with where it's at.
Good, and it's dependent on a few large clients, So I mean that's going to go away. It has at some point. Change.
How long are the contracts generally that they sign?
I'm in the middle of a different RFP right now. I'm not even on a contract because it goes through that cooperative, which that's a long story to explain.
Okay.
But sometimes they'll just put together a PO for 1 month.
1 month at a time.
And then it's just like, oh, we still need them. It's like in their mind they think they're going to get like this influx of all these people or get it all done, and it's like, no, we still need them. We still need them.
So what's going on with the Bolivia prison?
I was just about to ask
you go from Bolivia guard to school administrator. So there's some tie-in there with those two types of.
I was like just a vagabond for a long time. So I went to U of A in Tucson. Okay. I'll give you a real backstory. Graduated from U of A, almost got married, didn't get married. I was like, I need to go do stuff before I get married, and I moved to Maui, Hawaii with my roommate. And then I just wanted to travel from there, so I spent time going through Asia for a long time, and then I came back.
Like a couple weeks, couple months?
Like 6 months.
Nice.
And was real into living in Hawaii. I was into surfing, and I went to Indonesia and surfed, and I don't know.
Were you like backpacking and going on buses? And
I was riding a dirt bike through like Cambodia.
How'd you fund this trip? out of college?
Everyone, so many people in Hawaii that go, they all kind of do weird migration patterns to Indonesia. So like all the banquet servers there, like when it dries up, the banquets dry up a little bit, they like collect unemployment and just shoot off to Indonesia. And they're like, we're going to Lombok and we're going surfing. And I wasn't even a good surfer, but I was like, dude, I'll go. It sounds great. And then from there, did like that same loop through Asia, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam.
Wow.
And then I came back home, and that's Bolivia. I was like, I have to learn how to speak Spanish. Like, I don't know why we live 200 miles from the border. And
I'm trying to learn right now.
I
I know why we don't is because it's hard, but because I'm trying to learn. But
like I was like, oh, I don't know how to speak Spanish, and I live in Arizona, and so I was like, I'm moving to Argentina, and I didn't move to Argentina first. My cousin called me and was like, hey, why can't we go through Central America first? So we went through like Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras. Went to the Spanish school in La Ceiba, Honduras. It was fascinating. Probably can't go down there now. It might be a little dangerous. But what's that? There's a city down there called San Pedro Sula. And I'm a horrible bowler, but I bowled like a 200 in San Pedro Sula. So I was like,
you had some momentum from somewhere.
Yeah, and then my cousin had to go back home, and I ended up flying to Argentina and staying in Buenos Aires, and I met a girl down there, and she was like, why don't you come to the beach with my family? And I came and stayed at the beach, and my Spanish was picking up. It was getting better, and I would rent what they called carpas on the beach, like little tents, umbrellas, and I would rent those out to people. And then she really kind of wanted to settle down, and I was still like, I don't know if I'm ready. So I ended up just being like, I got to maybe it's time I move on from here. And I ended up just taking buses through like northern Argentina and like Jujuy, and then I ended up in Cochabamba, Bolivia.
Wow.
And I ran into I had no idea what was going to happen. I ended up running into these people at a bar called the Black Mount, which was awesome because they would just play like American music videos of like Europe on there, like the Final Countdown. I was like, this place is amazing. And they'd be like eating armadillo at the bar, and I was like, this is great. And they introduced me to these people that were working at an NGO, and it was called Ayuni Ruwai, and he told me, hey, we have jobs in the prisons if you're interested. And I was like,
they're the Bolivian prisons?
Bolivian prisons. So the way it works down there is the criminals kind of run free, but like the people that mash up all the coca leaves to make cocaine, they get caught and they get like thrown in prison, and they're not really criminals, and their families can like come visit them. And
some of it's for probably some international pressure to lock them up.
Yeah.
And so they kind of do it, but they're not really.
But it's very similar in some of those prisons to what you see on TV, how there'll be like the inner courtyard and then all the stories up.
Yeah.
Like 4 stories up, and everyone's just kind of wandering around with nothing to do. I never felt like threatened or unsafe at all. Everyone was like really happy to see me, and I would just teach them how to type letters, and they would send the letters out or
in Spanish.
In Spanish, and I taught them how to make shoes, like because they didn't know how to type. They, like, what's this computer?
And is that where you learned Spanish?
The majority, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned in Bolivia.
So is the Argentinian now your wife, or are you married to someone?
No, my wife is as Irish as can be.
Okay, so that story ended in Argentina.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I'll still on LinkedIn. Cynthia is her name in Argentina. Right. I'll still be in contact. But yeah, my wife's an Irish lady, and I think I got married when I was like 34.
Okay.
So yeah, later in life.
Yeah. So you learned Spanish there.
Yeah.
And then you decided to transition from that to school administrator.
I started teaching. Yeah, I came back, didn't know what I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like.
But you had a degree for
teaching? I didn't, but I ended up getting a master's in secondary ed. And I was like, okay, I guess I can teach. And I did, which I'm really happy I did. You learn a lot. Going into education, and I learned kind of what I didn't want to do. I shouldn't say that.
Sure.
It's a hard job. I think teachers are very underappreciated for everything they are asked to do.
Absolutely.
And so I did that, and I worked at a charter school down there, and then they fired me after my first year there for nothing. I didn't do anything wrong. It was a really bizarre charter school where the heads were like embezzling money, and they didn't really care. They're like, yeah, just get rid of him, and get rid of him. And then I went to the school downtown, and I only taught for 3 years, and they kept promoting me at this school. They're like, yeah, after year 3, they're like, make him a director. And I was like, okay. And then I did that, and then it just never ended. Like, because you know, I was a dean, I was an athletic director, and then as I got to be like the principal, I never gave up those other roles. And it was just like,
just another.
I'd be
on
out
top
there.
of it.
I'd be out there. The football games on Friday. I learned how to paint fields from when the Cardinals, they donated a field for the Super Bowl to us, and I'd be out there like painting it. Be like, I know how to line the field and paint it.
Wow.
I used to offer that doing the cleaning company. I used to offer that to schools.
There you go.
And I'd be like, dude, if you need someone to come paint, I never got a job doing it, but
You might.
But I was like, I can do it. And I knew a guy I could borrow the stencils of the numbers from.
Yeah, so if you're talking to some college student that is ambitious and they're trying to figure out what to do, what advice do you give them? Or if you were to go back and do it again, what would you tell them? Are the important things to consider when they figure out their path?
It's a loaded question.
Is it? I don't know. Dude, all you can say is go. Coming out of college, go for it. You have nothing to lose. Like, nothing to lose. And the hardest thing to like develop is just confidence, I think. Especially when you're young and you don't know anything. So if you're coming out of college, people are not going to take you seriously. They're probably not going to be real respectful. You just have to have like ice water in your veins and just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. And eventually it happens. Even I had to learn that. And I was like in my mid-30s in business. It's like, keep showing up, keep knocking on the door. Don't worry if you're bugging them. Bug them. Put a little thing in their ear. Because it may not happen like within 3 months. It may not happen in 6. It may not happen in a year. But eventually, things happen.
Do you think, would you recommend people go to college and get a 4-year degree, or do you think that that's not really necessary today?
Depends who you are. Depends what you want to do. Depends, like, do I think going and having someone else tell you about, like, history and going into $150,000 in debt is worth it? Absolutely not. So, but socially, I think you can learn a ton in college. But can you? Maybe that's a great question because certain kids are going to go learn more by just going out with older people and getting, choice of word, beat up a little bit by the world. Than being like harbored in the safe environment that college is. Like, oh, just get those good grades. I'm a 2.4 student. The only strength I had in all through school was learning how to talk to people and like possibly getting them to help me with whatever test was going to happen.
Yeah, and that's one thing we always talked about was half of school is getting the academic skill set. The other half is building your network, feeling like what the real world feels like, thinking about what your career paths are. If you're only going to school and put your head down and do good on your courses, you're missing like half of the opportunity.
Well, think about what you do. Do you think you need to go to college to?
For me, it was
specifically
I studied finance, and it gave me a skill set that I got hired because I had that degree at an investment bank, and they're not going to hire anybody without that. Yeah. And so that kind of put me on that path. But there's kind of the front door into opportunities, and that's kind of the traditional academic way. And then there's always a side door. Yeah. If you're hustling, if you're starting things, if you're going out of the box.
It's like I'm not anti-college at all. Like, I went and you meet a lot of people that's life, relationships, meeting people and working together. But
yeah, I'm in college right now, and I can definitely see the aspect of being a little coddled and not, if you go into the real world and go into the workforce immediately, you can kind of get beat up a little bit, as you said. Yeah. Probably grow a little more. But in college, you're probably a little more coddled, but you're also learning these skill sets and growing relationships with people your age and learning how to socialize and communicate with people. So it's either way probably works, like you said, the side door or going to college. But
yeah. And you went and got a master's degree. And,
I just would sit down. I would just start typing gibberish, and and then getting the math. I'm like traditionally, I'm like a 2.4 student. Getting my master's, I had like a 3.8.
Right.
And my thought process was, wow, you just write them a check, and they'll kind of give you a higher number.
And now that degree has nothing to do with what you're doing. You could.
It sort of does, though. It took me into education. I know that language. Yeah. Of how my business interacts with like the education field.
Right. If you hadn't gone through those steps, you wouldn't have had the that same level of knowledge.
If you want to know a really fun fact, you probably don't know many people that have been rejected by Enterprise Rent-A-Car twice in their life. I'm one of those people.
Wait, why were you rejected by Rent-A-Car?
Because I'm telling you, I didn't know what avenue I wanted to take, and it's like, what movie is that in? Like Step Brothers, where he's like, I'm gonna go work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car because they give you the tools you need to succeed. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just try there, because people would get higher up working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Sure.
And I would go and I'd get that interview and I'm rejected. And I did it again like 3 years later and I was rejected.
Well, you're past Enterprise now, thank goodness. So that's that's in the rearview mirror. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see where your business goes from here. So we're going to have you on again here in a year and see kind of where you are, what you did, whether it's the same, whether it's you've added some other services, whether you've gone to other markets. Things generally don't stay the same in the world we're in. So it's almost like you have to move in one direction or another. Yeah. So it'll be fun to kind of see that and track that business as you make those decisions over the next few months. We'll have to have you on again since you're here in the grid.
Sure.
And this is the Off the Grid podcast, so we're here, your local podcast. So let's grab you and bring you up.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks.